and welcome to the HousingWorks Infrastructure Grant Program Guidance Webinar for the fiscal year 27 round of the Community One Stop for Growth. To start with a brief overview, we have 3 program staff on our team: myself, Maggie Kenny, Community Grants Coordinator, Victoria Healy, our other Community Grants Coordinator, and Mackenzie Bell, our Senior Community Grants Coordinator on our team. You can find our contact information on the HousingWorks Grant Program webpage. The HousingWorks Infrastructure Program, or HWIP, as we like to call it, is a program of the Healy-Driscoll administration to support efforts to increase housing production in the Commonwealth. The program funds activities related to horizontal infrastructure projects associated with housing development. Who is eligible? All Massachusetts municipalities, so all cities and towns in Massachusetts, are eligible to apply for HousingWorks funding. And HWIP is administered through the Community One Stop for Growth, which is a single application portal and collaborative review process. So what's new and some other things to consider? In terms of eligible infrastructure activities, HWIP funding will only support horizontal infrastructure work on public and or private lands. In terms of eligible applicants, as mentioned before, only cities and towns in Massachusetts are eligible to apply. Any other public entities or private firms must partner with an eligible applicant with a community to apply. Non-compliant MBTA communities are ineligible for HousingWorks infrastructure funding, as well as applicants with adopted housing moratoria or other restrictive bylaws that do not allow for at least a 5% increase in housing production over a single year. They are also ineligible to apply for HousingWorks funding. So where does HWIP fit within the One Stop? The HousingWorks Infrastructure Program fits squarely in the infrastructure category in the development continuum, specifically in that top section there, infrastructure to support housing production. So eligible activities and projects should be related to the design, construction, or improvement of public infrastructure that directly supports housing development, rehabilitation, and or preservation. When completing the Community One Stop for Growth full application, you'll want to select Development Continuum category Infrastructure for any HWIP proposals. So that's question 2.4, Project Category for Grant Consideration. You'll want to select Infrastructure, and from there you can choose a project type that best fits your proposal. For more information on completing the full Community One Stop for Growth application, you can visit the One Stop webpage. There you'll find a helpful guidance webinar for completing the application. On this slide, I will review some highlights from the fiscal year 27 HWIP guidelines. In terms of project budget, HWIP doesn't set a minimum or maximum amount of funding. Here we have a 2 bullet points with a range of what past funding awards have looked like. Past pre-construction awards have ranged from $100,000 to $500,000, and past construction awards have ranged from $1 million to $5 million. Projects that have secured funding from other sources will be more competitive and will receive bonus points for a 10% local cash match, which isn't required, but you will receive bonus points for that. In terms of project timeline, HWIP is a 4 fiscal year grant, meaning awards that are made in the fall of 2026. Those projects must be completed by June 30th, 2030. Eligible uses of funds. So again, HWIP will fund horizontal infrastructure activities associated with housing development. including but not limited to design, construction, repair, and other improvements to things like sewer lines, septic systems, water lines, wells, utility extensions, and the list goes on, streets, roads, curb cuts, etc. Really encourage you to visit the HWIP guidelines for more information on eligible uses of funds. In terms of ineligible activities, HWIP funding will not support any activities related to the assertion of GLAM, any routine administrative tasks of municipal staff, including but not limited to grant application preparation, procurement, etc. And funds will also not support vertical construction or building and foundation activities, parking decks or garages, or development with a primary municipal use. Competitive applications. Another plug for the HWIP guidelines and visiting our webpage. The guidelines do have a very helpful scoring rubric, which can help guide you to maximize all those possible points. In addition to score and how we score the application, award recommendations also consider a number of factors listed here, including past performance with any prior HLC grants and capital grants. We consider regional and geographic diversity when allocating awards, whether an applicant would be a first-time HLC capital grant recipient, whether a project has had prior HLC investment or support. We consider successful implementation of prior HLC capital grants. We're looking at environmental resiliency factors, as well as overall alignment with the HLC Secretariat priorities. In terms of submitting a competitive application, just some points below that we hope are helpful. We really encourage explaining how the project addresses a need that's specific and centered on your community. So giving us some really helpful, comprehensive information there to paint a picture on why the project is needed and how it will address those needs. We want to see how a project will leverage and/or support housing growth. Competitive applications will have an outlined, detailed scope of work that can be achieved within the grant timeline. Competitive applications should include evidence of progress to date and experienced leadership with a track record to execute the project proposed, and having feasible and defensible costs or the grant request itself. All right, fiscal year 27 round timeline. So the Community One Stop for Growth launched on January 23rd in coordination with the MMA Connect 351 conference. At this point, people can begin working on the Community One Stop for Growth full application, but you cannot yet submit those applications. We are in our guidance phase, which is January through April. This is where prospective applicants can submit expressions of interest and receive tailored and helpful feedback on their proposed projects. There will be webinars available like this one to learn more about the Community One Stop for Growth grant programs, and the opportunity to schedule office hour sessions with specific programs to ask questions specific to your projects. The application submission period will begin on May 4th and last 1 month until June 3rd. And this is where people can formally submit applications for funding consideration. June through September is our review and evaluation process, and this is where we will then approve and make award recommendations. Those awards will be notified to communities in the fall of 2026. Again, we thank you so much for your interest in learning more about the HousingWorks Infrastructure Grant Program. Please visit our webpage for more information and feel free to reach out to our team if you have any questions. Thank you.